Hello everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. We get to another week in Destiny, and there is a lot more of just mid-season happenings. Just to start from the top, we have another fishing rally, which means more exotic fish, this time taking place on Nessus, so there's a specific Nessus exotic fish now. Which, does that mean it goes to the new exotic scout, Stasis Scout, that we still haven't seen yet? Who knows? But, you know, we'll find out hopefully by next week. And to that extent as well, there's probably another statue we can find somewhere in the deep dives that we can dedicate some Zivu dialogue to. But aside from that, speaking of deep dives and seasonal stuff, it is currently the last week of the season in terms of the main storyline. The Into the Depths has reached its final season. I'm not exactly sure what is going to happen. It seemed like last season we got details on the Witness. What's to be done with the following? I mean, we've already killed each of the deep dive things. The last one was Kelgaroth. I don't know if he gets revived again, or if we fight a special Spectral Zivu. I have no clue, because, you know, I do the video of me going through the seasonal week after this. But aside from that, there's a few things going on. So, if you actually start with Vanguard, currently it's probably going to be one of the hardest nightfalls of the weeks, because currently Grandmasters are fully active, and just not yet. It's only week 3, I believe, of Grandmasters, which it's currently the saddest battleground on the moon, which of course means there's lots of Lucent Hive and very large number of ads, plus a final arena that has to do with the aspects of Savathun, which at one point, if I recall, there are 3 of them. So I expect this to be just like last season, where the Heist battleground was the hardest nightfall of all 3. Or all 6, excuse me. Now, the associated modifiers of this one are all 3 elemental shields, barrier and unstoppable champions because of Lucent Hive, arc threat for incoming arc damage being increased because of Storm Dancer wizards and all that, Grandmaster modifiers are the usual, extinguish, limited revives, fire pit for acolytes spawning fire pools when they're killed, chaff for no radar, and then seasonal overcharge weapons in addition to Strand and Void Surge, or wait, no, that's Arc Surge and Void Surge, as well as overcharged machine guns. So, it's not the greatest setup, but, you know, Arc, Strand, Seasonal Artifact, Machine Guns. Machine Guns are probably being in one of their best states they have been a long time. But regardless of that as well, if you actually make it through this week, and it seems to always be the same case, whenever a new weapon that people are excited for their new version, it happens to be on a hard nightfall. Which also means that Adept BrayTech Osprey is finally here. This is the first time that the Osprey has been back since way back when it was Sunset. This is the first time it's been available this season, and the first time the Adept version's been available. Maybe only one more time this season, depending on how many weeks we got left in the season. But I've said season way too many times. Now, high impact frame void or high. I already said high impact frame. Jesus. Okay, reset all of that. Cut it. Now, the BrayTech Osprey is a high-impact void frame rocket launcher, which it has some not exactly great perks. It has access to things like lasting impression, which is great, but it's, you know, timed rocket launcher and a variety of things. Destabilizing rounds, which is interesting if you want this for ad clear. But one combination that I was kind of interested in was either destabilizing rounds and cluster bombs, or cluster bombs and lasting impression, because cluster bombs is a left column perk in it, which means you can get lasting impressions and cluster bomb. It might be the best new rocket launcher for damage, but it also might be one of the weirdest one. And also hardest to get. And aside from that, there's nothing exactly new in the rest of the world. Gambit is Gambit. Crucible, Iron Banner has just ended, which means we have Trials back, and according to the Bungie socials and that sort of thing, Trials will also have boosted rep this weekend. So if you wish to go for that, it's easier to grind up the Trials ranks. As well, Team Scorch is our rotator for that. Zone Control, Competitive as usual, for all the variety in the Crucible playlist tabs. Now, going back to the seasonal stuff, for our seasonal challenges, just to kick it off, we have Into the Depths 6 for basically completing Into the Depths again. Frontline Salvager for opening chests in deep dive activities. Redeeming deep dive keys will give you bonus progress. Additionally, defeating targets with void damage anywhere in the system, of course, more progress for Guardians. Under pressure for successfully completing a pressure trial encounter at any depth in deep dive activity. Additionally, defeat bosses and mini bosses in deep dives. If you don't know what the pressure trial is, look for the little blinking Taken Ball or Toland, in case you know that one. And basically just activate it, the whole team does it, and goes into a hard mode of deep dives that hopefully you can get through. And you also have Go Big Fish or Go Home, basically catching any large or bigger fish at a pond. Fish must be at least 18 kilograms to be considered large. You'll notice that in the feed whenever you see you picked up a fish. If it's 18 kilograms or more, that's what you need. And it's completely random. It doesn't have to be legendary or exotic. It could just be bigger fish. Then round and round we go for completing generating orbs of power and playlist activities, including Vanguard, Gambit, or Crucible. The deep end for defeating opponents in Crucible with auto rifles, hand cannon, scout rifles, glaives, or linear fusion rifles. Additional progress granted for landing final blows, glaives, linear fusion rifles, and hand cannons that use special ammo. So basically use Ariana's Vow. That's probably going to be an easy way. Then, of course, boss battle for defeating bosses in Strikes or Vanguard playlists. And absolutely stunning for stunning champions. That is the 6th week of challenges. We'll have 4 more of these to go. Now, while we are mentioning seasonal stuff, like I mentioned, though, we are in the 3rd week of the rotation. So in terms of deep dives, you will be encountering Kelgaroth at the end, in case you wish to go for that. Oh. I didn't even notice there was these unique modifiers for deep dives. So, of course, you have Journey in Progress disabled. Blasts for combatant splash damage being increased from right from the start. Hot Champions for defeat champions will create pools of fire on depth at midnight difficulty. And, of course, generally a solar threat activates in the abyss depth for deep dives. Then for Legendary Salvage, it does appear that the locked loadout is the Fallen Combatants and Engineering Ordnance Disposal Site Security, and the boss being the Knight Ashradat. Then, of course, Salvage, I believe, is still just normal as always, with the Void Threat, Arc, and Strand Surge, and Shielded Foes of Arc and Solar. And while we're on the topic of seasonal, we also have Legendary Defiant Battlegrounds and the Cosmodrome for that requirement. Then, in terms of everything else, now our rotation raid is, if I recall, King's Fall right off the bat. So that means King's Fall Master is available. All challenges are active, so you can do any of these associated encounter challenges and earn bonus rewards. And of course, there is also the Adept King's Fall weapons, and of course, Master Mode drops Resilience-focused armor, with the modifiers being Arc and Solar Shields, Master modifiers, Mob Champions of all 3. Wait, all 3 kinds? Wait, that doesn't make sense. Oh, well, some encounters are Hive, some encounters are Taken, so that makes sense that it would be either Barrier Unstoppable or Unstoppable Overload. Never mind. And the seasonal overcharge weapons, as well as Arc Surge, Void Surge, and Overcharge Sniper Rifles for King's Fall Master Mode. Then, in terms of our grinding dungeon, it is actually the Grasp of Avarice this week. So, the Exoticus quest, although this probably has some of the best weapons that you could go for in case you want to grind out. Plus, it has pretty solid access to, well, of course, because it is farmable and on Master, that has access to Avarice or Artifice armor. Avarice. But aside from that, yeah, if you wanted to farm this one out for Artifice armor, this one is a good one. Plus, with the overcharged rocket launcher, it makes farming especially easy. Then, in terms of our world rotations. So we have Dreaming City for the current active challenge being the Summoning Ritual, which I believe is Kali Challenge, which is, actually I remember this one, you have to activate every plate, including the wrong ones, which will spawn ogres that I think you do not, or cannot kill, if I recall that. And then for Garden of Salvation, we have currently the To the Top Challenge, which if I recall, it's on 0 to 100, that might be second encounter challenge, but I forget what it does. And then going all the way to Europa for our Deepstone Crypt, we currently have the Red Rover Challenge, which is first encounter challenge. Basically, everyone has to do the suppressive roll, and you're forced to do a 3-round phase, only breaking 2 fuses at a time. Then into, let's see, what's the word, Vault of Glass, we have the Only Oracle for You Challenge, which is basically Oracle Challenge. You can never break the same Oracle in a position more than once, so basically to play that out, when you set up your oracles and you get your dibs on which ones you handle, you rotate to the next one in a clockwise or counterclockwise rotation to complete that. Then into the Throne World, it is no longer Vow to the Disciple Farming Week, which means it is currently only Defenses Down Challenge, which is the 3rd encounter challenge in case you want to go for it. But farming is done on Vow to the Disciple just for now. And then all the way back to Neptune for Root of Nightmares. It is currently the Crossfire Challenge, which is 2nd encounter challenge. Basically, you cannot activate any of your own elevators. They have to be done across from you. And with Master Mode, it is currently Recovery Focused Armor, and the variety being 3 Elemental Shields, Barrier Unstoppable Champions, Seasonal overcharge with Arc Surge and Void Surge, and overcharge shotguns, which I think is kind of permanent. I haven't seen anything else. Conditional finality, maybe. Who knows? But with that, that is how you can get Adept Adept Rid of Nightmares gear as well. Then, while we're on Neptune, the current active Vex Incursion Zone is Ahimsa Park, which also means it is the Partition Ordnance, which is the annoying partition to get through in case you need Pinnacle still, and the weekly mission being BrayTech, which is Stop the Vex Incursion of the Neomuna Cloud Arc, which, if I recall, is the, actually, yeah, no, I'm thinking of the right one. The one you have to get out of the building with the bombs at the end. So with that as well, that is pretty much everything in terms of the worldly rotation. Now, going back to the tower for a few vendors. Now, like I mentioned though, the season, it will be winding down for a little bit. So of course, with the end of the season, you won't see any of the seasonal storylines, but with that, it's going to hopefully develop at the end. And for Banshee, we have on the front page the Number, which is a basic vertical frame arc auto rifle, which does not have access to any origin traits. It's pretty simple, but does have pretty good access to rolls, extended barrel or small bore, pretty solid options, field prep kill clip, or multi-kill clip even. But at the same time, this is pretty simple in comparison to most other weapons, and of course is pretty outdated, so I wouldn't blame you for passing it up. Then Nezarac's Whisper, a pretty solid glaive, useful in many glaive builds that I've seen. And as well as craftable, which always means double enhanced perks available, as well as just generally, I think this is a good glaive for most people. Then with Austringer, this is probably one of the best Crucible hand cannons you can get access to, also being craftable. Kinetic slot with access to things like Eye of the Storm, and if I recall, Under Pressure, just to have one of the most stable hand cannons. Plus, this is one of the most well-performing hand cannons just in general. Then Taipan 4FR, the Prior Damage King, a Vice Linear Fusion Rifle, which means automatic auto-reloads on occasion because of origin trait. While also craftable, this roll is pretty solid from the get-go in case you need it. Clown Cartridge plus Enhanced Battery will just give you all the shots in one mag, firing line for all the damage. And from that, that's pretty much all you need to make a fusion rifle better. You also have Glissando 47, which is new to this season. It is a Strand vertical frame Suro scout rifle. With access to things like Overflow and Cascade Point, this thing is, I guess, made to have way more shots, but of course, being Strand has access to the Strand perks like Hatchling and that sort of stuff. Which, it being Suros though, this is more Crucible-focused scout anyway, so it's hard to say this really lives up to the PvE challenge. Into the main store for gunsmith weaponry, we have the Lunalata 4B, which is a stasis combat bow, which it is also the Vice style, which gets a increased draw speed when the perk just randomly activates whenever it wants to. But of course, with things like Golden Tricorn on it, Headstone, this is a pretty solid option in case you just need a general bow, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't this look a bit crooked in the screen? But that might just be me. But a pretty solid bow nonetheless. We also have Battle Scar, which is a lightweight kinetic pulse rifle from the gunsmith variety, meaning it has a field test origin trait, which basically just boosted perks being in combat. Think of Frenzy, but not so powerful. And pretty solid perks nonetheless. Regardless, it is still a lightweight frame, which I think is probably one of the weaker PvE archetypes for pulse rifles. But, you know, if you like this gun, then you like this gun. Then we also have Galil RR3, which is a Amalon adaptive arc sniper rifle, which I don't think it made any waves when it came out, but, you know, and has some pretty solid options for the PvE and PvP crowd in case you wanted to try it. And Combined Action, which is an aggressive frame arc hand cannon, also the gunsmith field tested trait. Now, it has Volt Shot, which is always great, but Hipfire Grip kind of holds it back. But of course, this is a pretty solid hand cannon. I'm not sure how well it compares to other aggressive frame hand cannons in the wild, so to be determined in terms of its effectiveness. And then 2 grenade launchers, one being not craftable and one being I wish craftable. The Stasis one is generally good in case you want a good one, but the Void one, I will not gonna lie, you're better off finding a different grenade launcher. Now, I thought it was obvious too at the start of the video, but just in case if somebody did miss it, when you actually log in, the current exotic or the farming zone is on Nessus this week. I thought that might have been clairvoyant by the mentioning of the new fishing rally and the new exotic fish. But in case you didn't know, officially the new farming zone for this week is on Nessus. So, oh, in both places. I didn't, oh, okay. Never mind, it's actually a little bit different. Miasma and the Cistern. Maybe fishing is just gonna go, oh. Oh, yep. Sorry, I got distracted. Regardless, when you visit Ada and see what shaders she has available, you have Bergrusia Night, which is one of the old live shaders. back from Black Armory, which this one is pretty nice and purple. It used to be only earnable when you got a special roll on one of the Black Armory weapons to pop out of the thing. If it would ever want to load, I'll come back to it. And then you also have Kairos Bronze from the Osiris, Curse of Osiris, which is also refusing to load. And then we have New Monarchy Diamonds, which, let's see if this one exists. Aha! This is one of the pretty simple New Monarchy looks. It looks pretty solid just in general. Nice dark red, nice metallic gold. Pretty shiny, so I wouldn't doubt anyone using this one. It's pretty much a standard go-to. And going back to the list, see if it loads. Aha! Kairos Bronze, which, looking at it, it's very bronze, very Mercurian in design. And then we also have Bergrusianite, which... there we go. You can't really tell. It is a live shader on your armor. It's a little bit easier to inspect if you go piece by piece, but it is a live shader, pretty purple. It's got a nice glow to it in case you wanted to rock just a different purple look than Amethyst Veil. With that is everything new with the reset. Now, like I said, the story is wrapping up. We'll probably have a finale in the future, so don't expect more dialogue unless something actually happens. With that respect, my name is Matt Scorpion, and thank you for watching.